From weathered courthouse buildings whose halls are wandered by spectral manifestations after dark, to historic hotels rumored to be roamed by the grabsy ghosts of their former owners, are you sure you're ready to brave our second list of picks for some of the most haunted places in New Mexico? Number 5. La Llorona Park. La Llorona Park, which is located off West Picacho Avenue along the Rio Grande River out of Las Cruces in New Mexico, is a popular 30-acre expanse that's grown massively infamous over the years for its purported resident and quite dreaded La Llorona phantom. While La Llorona Park may seem like the perfect getaway for most with its scenic walking and biking paths, numerous playgrounds, rec space, and the like, this notable expanse has long been surrounded by a chilling ghost story, one that sends some running in terror as the sun falls. The legend La Llorona, which translates directly to weeping woman, has long been ingrained in Hispanic culture throughout the Southwest, most estimate since the days of the conquistadors. While many versions of this tale exist, what might be the most popular rendition of La Llorona tells that long ago, a mother fell deeply in love with a man, and feeling that her children were holding her back from him, killed her own kin, often by way of drowning them, in this case in the Rio Grande. In a twist of karmatic fate, the object of her desires ends up rejecting her anyway, by some accounts resulting in her suicide, by others in her death by a broken heart, and by others still leaving her to live out the rest of her miserable days alone. Whatever the case, this woman's restless spirit, or more aptly La Llorona, has since been sighted and heard wandering the riverbanks, emitting a blood-chilling wail while forever searching for her children. Incidentally, while La Llorona Park is widely considered an excellent place for angling, swimming, picnics, and more, and we highly recommend checking it out should you ever get the opportunity, albeit during the daytime, many who frequent its bounds have told of a sudden foreboding feeling that descends upon the area alone as soon as it gets dark. While current legends regarding this park's specific weeping woman tend to change from storyteller or witness to other storyteller or witness, some claim this ethereal being is capable of killing, and does so indiscriminately, reaping men, women, children, and pets alike, or any other living being foolish enough to get in her path, and by some accounts, by way of pulling them down into the waters to meet an icy fate. Number 4. The Chaves County Courthouse. The Chaves County Courthouse, which is located off of Main Street out of Roswell, New Mexico, is a site acting as the center of government to the locale that boasts the title of being the state's only Beaux Arts civic building still in existence. Historically, in 1890, an earlier courthouse was constructed just 1 year following the formation of Chaves County under an act by the territorial legislature, which named Roswell as its seat. In 1890, the railroad would hit Roswell and the community would grow into a commercial center, resulting in a rapid rise in Chaves County's populace and in the planning of a larger, more modernized court building. In 1911, our current courthouse was constructed on the news that New Mexico was to become a state the following year. It was designed under the prominent firm of Isaac Hamilton and William Morris Rapp, with their impressive brick structure officially dedicated on May 2nd of 1912. Through the 1950s, 70s, and 80s, the Chaves County Courthouse would welcome sets of extensive restorations, additions, and modernizations. On February 15th of 1989, it would be honored on the National Register of Historic Places, and in 2005, the whole of the property would welcome a massive revitalization project. In the present, this weathered place of government remains open, housing the county's judicial functions, various legal services, and more, while managing community and civic matters and offering tours of its prestigious expanse. While it's unknown who or what exactly haunts the Chaves County Courthouse, over its many years, a massive assortment of local legends have emerged from within, with staff, officials, and visitors to its bounds reporting extreme and inexplicable temperature fluctuations, spooklights spied drifting the halls after dark, and instances of objects sighted moving about on their own or even floating in midair. Some of the most famous fables to grace this aged courthouse claim that when it's really quiet, if one listens closely enough, they might just hear the perturbing sounds of countless long since deceased children, whose souls for whatever reason have been collected to the site, crying out in desperation. Because unidentified phantom children shrieking isn't creepy enough to make anyone grab for some holy water and call a young and old priest, this phenomenon is actually rumored to increase in intensity as one gets closer to the basement. Oh joy, where several have described it as getting so loud at times they feel as if their ears are going to incur damage. Number 3. The Kimo Theatre. The Kimo Theatre, which is located off of Central Avenue Northwest out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, is a historic venue widely recognized as an icon of the downtown stretch. Historically, the Kimo was initially dreamt up under Italian-American entrepreneur Oreste Bececce and his wife Maria Franceschi, and was constructed in 1927 in the style of Pueblo Deco. In 1935, the Bececcis would merge their operation with that of one Joseph Barnett. In 1956, the old theater was leased to the Texas-based Frontier Theaters chain, and in 1967, this chain was taken over by Commonwealth Theaters. Unfortunately, in 1970, Commonwealth would close the Kimo down, after which it was leased for a time to the Albuquerque Music Theater and was also later used for the purpose of showing adult films. Sadly, however, by 1977, the property had fallen into disrepair and had sustained heavy damages courtesy of a large fire. Just as the Kimo's future had grown dimmest, following strong public outcry and local interest, the city would purchase the site and would set to work on a slew of renovations and remodels, after which, in 2011, it would commission the fashioning of a replica of the theater's original and quite cherished neon sign. The Kimo Theatre remains open into the present, offering a unique venue filled with unparalleled acts, with its restored movie house hosting movie screenings, concerts, plays, ballets, artist discussions, and more. While the Kimo isn't necessarily known for having a lot of ghosts, we felt the couple it supposedly does harbor alongside their associated legends were easily enough to land it on this list. A first tale tells the whole of Kimo grounds are roamed by the restless spirit of one Bobby Darnall, a 6-year-old boy who was killed in 1951 when a water heater in the lobby exploded. Bobby's small manifestation, who usually appears clad in a striped shirt and blue jeans, is often sighted playing about the lobby, namely near the stair. Subsequently, the ghost of young Mr. Darnall is also recognized for displaying limited poltergeist ability, and even when not visible, has been known to play small pranks on the living, moving people's personal possessions, tying shoelaces together, or messing with the lights or heat. Formidably, Bobby activity has been known to get so invasive that several staff members have taken to bringing small offerings such as donuts, treats, or gifts for him to ensure their performances are Bobby-free. Additionally, Bobby has also been known to cause malfunctions in electronics, to open and close doors, and has even dropped cables from ceilings, or caused other distractions seemingly in an effort to make certain performers forget their lines or lose focus. And it's actually documented that one year, when performers made the mistake of bringing their trash, stale donuts down as a misguided offering, that Bobby threw a supernatural fit of astronomical proportions, in which every piece of equipment present either broke or malfunctioned, the lighting failed, sound issues ensued, and more. Just as it was seeming proceedings would need to be put on halt until another date, several longtime theatergoers threw the stale treats out, replacing them with fresh sweets, and like clockwork, the property's atmosphere went back to normal. The second ghost held within the Kimo is that of an unidentified woman in a bonnet, who's often sighted walking the halls, seemingly unaware of the theater or of the living around her. Number 2. The historic Plaza Hotel. The historic Plaza Hotel, which is located off Plaza Street out of Las Vegas, New Mexico, is a prominent lodging that, upon its opening, was advertised as the finest hotel in the territory, earning it the moniker of being the Belle of the Southwest. Historically, in 1882, the plaza was opened under a group of local business interests, headed by Don Benigno Romero, and a year later, in 1883, Charles Illfield's 3-story tall Great Emporium was established just adjacent, symbiotically feeding off of the hotel's clientele, while simultaneously standing as another reason to visit. In 1891, Ilfeld would issue a massive expansion of his prized creation, with this new addition nearly tripling the size of his masterpiece, while providing 35 additional guest rooms, a grand ballroom, meeting space, and popularizing the plaza as the place for receptions, reunions, conferences, and all manner of private events. Over the years, Las Vegas's dry climate would begin to attract those suffering from ailments requiring such an environment for the improvement, maintaining, or remission of their conditions. And interestingly enough, circa the 1890s, a good deal of the plaza's guests were victims of TB. More recently, in 1982, the plaza was restored by new owners, with 36 guest rooms and a fine dining room added in. Later, the adjoining structure would be purchased and transformed into another 35 rooms and 3,100 square feet for events, meetings, and the like. And in 2014, the property was purchased under Alan Afelt, who has since set to work on a number of his own modernizations, improvements, and restorations, some of which continue to date. The historic Plaza Hotel remains open into the present, offering a total of 70 rooms and suites, a breathtaking ballroom, meeting and event space, and both a dining room and full saloon. Chillingly, over its lengthy existence, the plaza has been shrouded in a range of ghost stories and claims of encounters with the supernatural, with staff and guests telling of extreme cold spots, of doors opening and closing on their own, and of footsteps, voices, or commotion detected from vacant rooms. The manifestation of a woman who it's believed worked for the plaza through the turn of the 1900s has been observed seemingly going about tasks from her life, while the specters of a little girl, of a little boy, and of an old man have been sighted often in the boiler room, and also less frequently at other random locations around the site. The most famous local legend tied to the plaza associates itself to Byron T's Saloon, which sits to the right of the lobby and derives its name from early hotel owner Byron T. Mills, who passed on in 1947. As it's told, following his death, Byron's spirit was just unwilling to move on from the job he so loved, and both employees and visitors have reported run-ins with his entity, who seems particularly fond of room 310, which it's believed was his former office. Within 310, the indention of a man on the bed has been noted. Thick wafts of phantom cigar smoke often manifest from thin air. Housekeeping has documented instances of Byron's voice speaking to them from beyond, and a bit of a flirt in life. Desk clerks and reservations actually try to avoid booking single women in Mills's old room, as many have later complained of inappropriate slaps on the behind, or of amorous squeezes to the tender bits felt throughout the night. Number 1. The Chaco Culture National Historical Park. The Chaco Culture National Historical Park, which is located in the northwestern region of New Mexico, between Albuquerque and Farmington, is a popular wreck expanse placed within a canyon cut by the Chaco Wash that, in itself, contains the largest collection of ancient ruins north of Mexico, and that preserves one of the most significant pre-Columbian cultural expanses in the whole of the United States. Historically, lands now holding and surrounding our current national park were inhabited and frequented by a range of nomadic peoples and tribes dating back to around 10,000 BCE, but it wasn't until around 490 that permanent settlements began sprouting up through the region, with this particular canyon claimed by the ancestral Puebloans or Anasazi. Between 900 and 1150 CE, Chaco Canyon would act as a major center to said tribe, hosting 15 major complexes, which toted some of the largest buildings in North America pre-19th century. Unfortunately, the Chacoan people's system would begin to decline circa 1140, perhaps as a result of an extreme 50-year drought that started a decade prior in 1130, and over time, first outlying communities would begin to depopulate, and later, by the end of the 13th century, larger buildings in the Central Canyon were sealed and left abandoned. This site would be left vacant for centuries to come, and while a range of travelers and later frontiersmen, settlers, and the like would document its existence, it wasn't until the 19th century that its significance would be fully appreciated, when, on March 11th of 1907, Teddy Roosevelt proclaimed it as the Chaco Canyon National Monument. Subsequent archaeological investigation of the site has continued ever since, and astoundingly, in 1980, an additional 13,000 acres were added to its protection zone. The Chaco Culture National Historical Park remains open into the present and is managed under the National Park Service, offering a visitor center, multiple landmarks, campsites, trails, ruins, and more. From claims of spiritual significance to interdimensional portals to good old-fashioned hauntings and curses, stories surrounding Chaco are nigh uncountable, and over its years as a tourist destination, those braving its bounds have documented a host of odd phenomena, including strange EMF fluctuations, crystal clear EVPs, and orbs and half-formed manifestations captured in photography and video. Some historians theorize that violence and warfare, perhaps involving cannibalism, was actually at the root of the city's evacuation, or possibly something more otherworldly, and the ghosts of the Anasazi are said to remain. Reported across the site are disembodied footsteps and voices often heard in chant, instances of batteries dying at abnormal rates, the constant feelings of being watched, of being followed, or even of being touched by someone or something unseen, and encounters with both shadowy figures and full-bodied apparitions that creep about the ruins. The most famous stories surrounding the canyon tell of a strange naked spirit bathed in blue light who can sometimes be seen emerging from sipapus, or the sacred holes within ceremonial kivas at Chaco, while arguments persist over whether this thing is a spirit at all, or possibly an extraterrestrial or being from another dimension. All encounters with it detail it as iridescent and seemingly dripping with moisture. Taking its fascinating and ridiculously lengthy history into account, and coupling it with such a wide variety of associated purports of paranormal encounters and local legends, we felt the Chaco Culture National Historical Park was the perfect choice as this list's most haunted place in New Mexico. Thanks for joining us for our second list of picks for some of the most haunted places in New Mexico. If you enjoyed hearing our histories and ghost stories, subscribe to our channel, like this upload, and share us with anyone you feel could use a good scare. We'll catch you next time.